This is BoomerLife on Sept6th2016.
I don't care too much for money. Money can buy me love. Can buy me love.
Welcome to Boomer Life on Sept6th2016. I'm Joanne Sutton, and today we're speaking with Jim Doyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group Financial Services. So, Jim, I really liked our last segments on the show talking about downsizing and the problems associated with joint ownership of either investments or real estate, like your own home. It definitely was an eye-opener, and I think it was for our listeners as well. And I think it really highlights the value of working with an experienced financial planner. So it's pretty clear that investing is only part of the story. Some feel that a generation living beyond its means is waiting for the biggest transfer of wealth in human history to solve their financial problems. Do you think they're going to be prepared?
Some are waiting more patiently than others.
Well, let's talk about that. And before we do, let me start off by restating the importance of the 3 T's, which you've taught us about in shows of the past as well. So the 3 T's, which apply to both investing and real estate planning, or just estate planning. Time is the first T, time to do the research and anticipate tax consequences. Technique, knowing what you're doing and the knowledge behind it. And the third T is temperament, emotional control.
Thanks, Joanne. Couldn't have said it better myself.
Oh, I think you could have.
Mastery of these 3 elements are so essential to ensure that you're not leaving any financial blind spots unaddressed. If you have concerns about your financial situation, I'd like to encourage you to give me a call.
And you can reach Jim at 604-682-5431. To get the most out of your financial circumstances, you can try and do it yourself, or you can make the choice and work with a professional. Is it really that simple, Jim?
For some, it's not. Couldn't help but read a cautionary story about a Southern Ontario lottery winner who's now headed off to prison. It's a great reminder that sudden wealth can be a sizable problem for a lot of people.
Well, didn't this guy win about $5 million? And then, got a drug addiction, managed to go from total financial freedom to with the 4 walls of a jail cell, all within 10 years. This is an absolutely tragic story.
Like many lottery winners, Dan Carley's story is not too unfamiliar. According to Dan, he spent half of his winnings on poor investments and a failed business venture within the first year as a millionaire. A further 1/5 went to his habit, and he gave away a lot, such gifts and such. He didn't have anyone to help him, and he wasn't prepared. It's important to understand the psychological impact of a windfall.
Well, that's why they need to keep a cool head so they can think clearly and not act hastily.
Think it won't happen in your family? You might want to rethink this one. Many lottery winners have mentally already spent half of the winnings between the time that they get the phone call and the money reaches the winner's bank account. The closest financial windfall families have, a high probability of experiences in their lifetime, is an inheritance. Have you prepared your heirs to inherit money?
I really like how you've made the comparison between the lottery and an inheritance. And this is why it's essential that they consult with an expert in specialized financial services, a seasoned financial planner.
For someone who only has a basic understanding of tax matters, financial and insurance products, it's not easy to know what to do first after becoming a multimillionaire. All the tax and investment decisions have more zeros on them. The consequences and the benefits are bigger. It can be difficult for the winner to properly manage a large fortune, and it's not unusual for many winners to give away large amounts to their family or friends.
So, Jim, you're there to act like a financial coach for the client or their family. I remember you mentioning you like to work as a multi-generational planner.
Where we can help is to pave the way for good financial advice to help the winner's fortunes to grow in the long term. Should the sudden itch to engage in philanthropic behavior or make a spontaneous purchase arise, sound second thought might help them reconsider their actions.
So who would have thought beneficiaries need to be taught how to inherit? But when I think about it, how else can they expect to know the investment and planning essentials?
So often we hear how much of people's estates will be destroyed by the time it's transferred to the second or third generation. We see it in estates. We also see it in family businesses. If you want to make your legacy last, it's going to take some work with the intended beneficiaries.
I actually think you had some statistics on this in the past, and we'll revisit that in the future as well. But, Jim, how might you help avoid this wealth degradation amongst multi generational households?
It can be as simple as asking a few well placed why questions. It's not enough to ask someone if they've updated their wills or power of attorney. It's a great opportunity to understand why they want things distributed a certain way and why they made recent changes, and maybe even the types of changes that were made.
It sounds like an opportunity for asking questions and listening for deeper meaning. I'm very surprised, though, that as a financial planner that you would take the time to do this. It doesn't seem common.
Joanne, this is powerful stuff. If we can help get the real narrative revealed, the why in this client's planning can be addressed. That's what sets us apart. My team wants to hear the whole narrative. It's very humbling to be able to help bring tangible value to this client's or their family's lives. The planning can be more purposeful when we have an opportunity to come up with meaningful strategies to ensure that goals are reached.
So you need to do some planning to ensure the estate's wishes are met, but you've also likely got the beneficiaries asking what they should do with an inheritance.
Competing agendas can create a lot of family problems. Mom or dad might have expectations, and the kids see it another way. One of the best ways to avoid issues like this is to talk about your wishes. Have a family meeting to discuss these. And I know it can be a tough nut, but families that flourish have a process for effective family issues around money and stuff like that. And that includes preparing the heirs regarding their rights, roles, and responsibilities.
That sounds great. Money continues to be an emotional issue for many families. And for some families, well, they feel going to court is the only way to settle things. And you've probably seen a lot of this over your many years of working with client families.
Too much. If one of the focuses of estate planning is to preserve estate assets, and that includes planning advice and strategies to reduce tax liability, the best efforts can be fruitless if the estate faces claims that wind up in court. Estate litigation destroys families.
Well, a simple will can often save you money, but can cost you something much more dear. It could also cost your family harmony.
There are many potential landmines when it comes to family dynamics, sibling rivalry, second marriages, or blended families. I know it's uncomfortable to suggest this, but entitlement often comes up, with disgruntled family members believing that they're entitled to some or all of the estate and they never receive their fair share.
So, do you think a lot of parents have faith their kids are going to just sort out their estates, or could they be a bit naive on this matter?
The dangers of estate litigation go far beyond the legal fees, which can be very substantial, sometimes hundreds of thousands of dollars. Assets can be tied up for years. Non contesting beneficiaries might not have access to assets again for years. Then there's the costs associated with maintaining things like real estate or a business until the asset can be dealt with. Then there's also the personal costs, from strained relationships to family members ending up estranged, often reopening old wounds.
Jim, isn't every estate susceptible to claims?
Yeah, they are. But no one strategy can guarantee that an estate remains litigation free. But there are things that you can do. If you open up to your financial advisor, make sure that they can help you to take actionable steps to address this. You'll also want the input of a good estate planning lawyer.
A good lawyer can be an invaluable resource to help address some of these problems, couldn't they?
In my practice, I'm likely to speak to clients a few times a year, maybe see them once or twice a year. We're on top of what's going on in their world and that of their family. Our relationships are close and they become personal. People on average might see their lawyer every 3 to 5 years, so it can be hard for them to be up on speed on the changes going on. So be prepared when you meet with your legal counsel, if they have the time available, to tell them about what's going on and what's concerning you.
So what I'm hearing, Jim, is it's beneficial to have that good relationship between you and your advisor.
Absolutely. In my practice, I have a great Rolodex of capable professionals. With the client's permission, we can often speak with them to help lay the groundwork to address issues. It might help keep legal costs down, and more importantly, clients don't feel so out of control if they have talking points to get more advice on when they meet with their legal counsel.
So given the horrors estate litigation represent, what can financially comfortable clients do to reduce the likelihood of litigation?
Well, the first one we just covered is powerful. Consult with an estate lawyer either about drafting a new will or updating an existing will. You might want to speak to them if you have concerns that your will might be challenged. One area that's often attacked is around mental capacity. Were they easily influenced by a friend or a family member?
So what's one step that people could take to try and protect themselves?
Capacity tests are often used to certify that an individual has the necessary mental capacity. Anytime someone is making a will and their capacity or mental fitness is a concern, a capacity test, along with a doctor's note on their mental condition, is essential. Consider asking your lawyer when drafting your will to make notes about your mental state and capacity.
This is a great point. With dementia and Alzheimer's disease affecting us in greater numbers, this has got to be an increasing concern.
It's becoming more of an issue. Special care is necessary, especially if you're making significant revisions to your will or you're taking steps to disinherit a family member. Taking extra steps to support your mental state and capacity, like we just spoke of, can go a long ways to reducing the chances of a successful wills variations legal challenge.
That's great advice, Jim. So what are a few other steps that people could take to reduce the likelihood of estate litigation?
One that costs no money but can be painfully difficult to do so is to communicate with your heirs and beneficiaries. Help avoid confusion from the start and let them know what your true intentions are for the distribution of your estate. Opening lines of communication could also allow for the discovery of preferences beneficiaries or heirs might have.
So what about those families who are just simply not comfortable about bringing up these issues or even, tackling such a meeting?
A family conference might not work for all families, but you might want to consider if having a professionally mediated meeting, bringing the stakeholders and other estate planning professionals together, provides the means to keep everybody informed, especially if there are litigious sentiments or strained family relationships.
Well, I know for a fact, Jim, that you're experienced in this area, and I know that you've done a few of these over the years for several client families that you work with.
Setting ground rules and ensuring a safe environment for discussion are essential. I've found them really rewarding, especially for families where conflict doesn't exist, because it starts the ball rolling on so many other conversations. That sense of expectation and responsibility can be a heavy load. Families we work with are often happy to see us there because we can help build financial literacy skills for the whole family.
Do you hear that, boomers? This is a fantastic reminder that life is a journey, and like any successful journey, it should always include good planning, and that means taking contingencies into consideration. You are listening to BoomerLife on CL650. I'm Joanne Sutton, joined in studio today with JimeDoyle, Senior Financial Consultant with Investors Group. Are you concerned your investments might not be doing everything they need to do for you? Well, to learn how JimeDoyle can actually help, call him 604-682-5431 or send Jim an email, jim.doyle@investorsgroup.com. In this crazy world of ours, markets continue to remain unsettled, but some fundamentals never change. Jim offers insights into planning that might be worthy of a fresh look. That's all next on BoomerLife on CL650.
Canada's only weekly radio show dedicated to the baby boomer lifestyle. This is BoomerLife on CL650.